What made you think you needed to grow in your life?
Because in 1990, I was involved in a very serious disaster where a factory burned to the ground, and a few of my friends and colleagues were killed. And I got out. I was kind of one of the last people to get out, and I ran towards a light, and I just think there was something else at work that helped me to get out of that building, because things were falling down on me, and I got burned a few times, and I was kind of suffering, and I felt that the mental health services, although they're very good, they weren't there was something missing, and I needed interaction with other people who had similar experiences. And that's when I came across Grow, and it made me feel a bit more humble, because you're meeting people who are not as fortunate as yourself, and it's a very caring atmosphere between people, because they all have this mutual understanding of each other. So that's what kind of led me to Grow. I was 30 when that happened, and it was very, very terrifying, because the reason it was terrifying, not only in the respect that it was a disaster and very serious, it was kind of how it leaves you afterwards. And the strange thing about post-traumatic stress disorder is that it kind of creeps up on you. What I mean by that is you don't really know it's going on for you, because you think you're carrying on as normal, but you're not. And what I mean there is that, for example, when you sleep, you wake up in the night, but you don't realize what you're waking up for. And people in the household are saying, "Do you know you were shouting in your sleep last night? We had to come and wake you. And did you know you were crying in your sleep? And do you know you're kind of walking out in front of cars," and things like this, all kind of strange things that go on. It's just where your mind is pushed to its absolute limit. Like, it's obviously called stress disorder for a reason, and it's because your mind is taken further than a normal everyday situation, maybe normal everyday stressful situation. So you're kind of really pushed to your limits.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah, it's not nice. It's not nice.
And before that happened, did you think about your mental health?
I had a pretty difficult childhood as well, where it was kind of physically and mentally abusive. My father was violent, and I kind of grew up in a household where it was kind of the norm to be exposed to this kind of thing. I mean, today you wouldn't even dream that this kind of thing would go on, and it wouldn't be acceptable. But I can remember when I was younger, there was a time when I used to look at my friend's father, my best friend's father, and I used to think, that's when I kind of made the connection that, why can't my father be like this? And this is how fathers are meant to be. And I just couldn't really understand it. And when I reached, I think it was 16, there was a lady in England called Esther Ranson, and she introduced a thing called Childline. And that day I cried my eyes out when I heard that, because I thought, this is just too late. This is too late for me, because if I had something like this when I was younger, I would have phoned it, and this would have stopped a lot earlier, the abuse. And so yeah, that's kind of what happened beforehand. And so it affected me mentally, because I have this. You have this. I'm not sure how to explain this, but when you're a child, it's all about pleasing your parents, and getting satisfaction or reward from your parents by them saying that's good or whatever. And you're trying to be good, and you're trying to keep the peace, and and you kind of
Overcompensate?
you overcompensate, yeah. So it means that in your mind, you you think you're pleasing somebody, but it's not happening. So you end up going through your life with this attitude that you're not good enough. You're never ever good enough, and you're always trying to reach for something that's not there. And it's only like these days that I've realized that, and by coming to Grow, that these kind of things don't exist. You can be reaching out, but you don't have to be under pressure to reach out for things. After the disaster happened, everything came to a head, and I couldn't understand. Like, once I realized that I was suffering from nightmares and seeing things and hearing things, and I looked around at the people who had survived alongside me, and they were coping reasonably well. They were upset and they were sad and you know, but they weren't suffering as badly. And I said, do you get nightmares? They said, no. I said, have you been doing like silly things like walking out in front of cars and just like hearing voices and stuff like this and seeing things? They said, no. And that's when I kind of realized that there was something going on. And what had happened is my behavior had changed as well. I became more, I became less patient and less resilient. And I became more kind of violent. I'd say I became more violent, and I became more outspoken. And people had said, "You've really changed. You're not the same person anymore." And I couldn't understand it. And it was a long time. For the period I had to go into hospital, into the mental health ward, for about 3 months. And the reason I was in there was because I became suicidal, meaning that I went into the garage in my house, and I put a rope up, and I put the rope around my neck, and I hung myself, basically. But what I mean by that is that I hung myself, but I kind of kept my feet on the floor just to see what it felt like. And I kept testing it and testing it. And then all of a sudden I felt myself becoming like really nauseous and very kind of dizzy. So I took the rope off, and I kind of thought, no, I can't go on like this. So I went and I spoke to my wife at the time, and I said, look, this is what I've just done. And she panicked. She said, well, I have to get you to the doctor and see the doctor. And I told the doctor, and he said, what's wrong, Andy? And I says, I don't want to live anymore. And then he said, would you like us to get you help? And I said, yeah, I would. So that's when they put me into the ward. But during that time, I did feel suicidal, and obviously there are all precautions in there, like you have to use plastic spoons and you have to use plastic cups, and there's nothing sharp and all this kind of thing. So I was out of harm's way, to be honest, and I was treated very well in the hospital. But yeah, not a nice experience.
There must have been a part of you that wanted to live, even though you tried.
Yeah, I love life. Life is fantastic. It's just that you get these dark moments and you get these dark times that kind of descend upon you. Not so much these days, because I have things like Grow, and I have all my friends now, and I have all like good things in place. I have a good network. What I call a network is I have my faith, I have mental health services, I have my friends, I have my hobbies, and I have Grow. And all these things around me are kind of supports that I can fall back on if I need them. And I really appreciate that. Now, although I've lost my marriage recently, I've been coping pretty well, to be honest with you. So what I mean by losing the marriage is that my wife kind of was my friend. She was my confidant. So I used to talk to her if there was anything going on. But, so that's the only thing that's missing, really.
And do you think that Grow helped you through that process, or did it make an impact, your divorce?
Oh, absolutely, because I find that, particularly coming from England, that Irish people in general, they speak more from their heart, and you can sense that they genuinely care. If you're talking to them, you can tell. If you tell them something that's disturbing, perhaps, you can tell the majority of people are they're talking from their hearts, and that makes a huge difference. So grow in that respect. I was amongst people, again, as I said before, who are understanding, but also that they're talking from their heart, and they really do care, and they can talk from their own life experiences and kind of tie things in with what I'm saying, with what the experiences that they have, and that really helps because it's personal. It brings it more personal rather than a textbook answer to anything that's going on.
You were saying step 4 helped you, which is we acknowledge our gifts and our strengths.
Yeah.
How do you think that step impacted your recovery?
Oh, it's huge. Where do I start? Firstly, I would say that what I mentioned before about trying to please people or that kind of thing, or helping them and not expecting any reward or not expecting any thanks or nothing, that's really, I've turned that into a positive thing, because now I do my voluntary work and I work for other people without asking for anything in return. And it's the role that I'm doing suits me down to the ground, because I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but I'm quite clever. I can fix things. I'm able to work out what was wrong with something and then put it right, as long as it's not electrical, obviously. Well, I'm not allowed to touch any electrical stuff, so that's fair enough. But I'm just in a role where people kind of need me, and I'm in a role where I don't expect any thanks, I don't expect any reward, and I don't expect any pay, and that just absolutely nails it for me. Absolutely. Also, with acknowledging your gifts and your strengths, I could be quite strong in a very in kind of very bad situations. If somebody's really suffering or somebody is suicidal or anything like that, I can remain quite calm, because my mind has already been to my mind has already been pushed to the limit, so it can't go any further than that. So I did a first aid course, and I'm very calm under pressure. I'm fortunate in that respect, and I put that down to what I've been through. So nothing. What I'm trying to say is that nothing is as bad as what I've been through. So it's kind of, it doesn't feel so traumatic for me. But also gifts and strengths. Gifts. I play the drums, and I played the drums when I was younger, and I've gone back to playing the drums. So that's something I've returned to. I'm quite musical, so I'm learning to read music, which is something I thought I'd never do, and I'm really enjoying that. And I also play the piano, which I enjoyed when I was very young. Also, in the same respect, in answer to your question with regards to number 4, I've gone back to art again. I do an art class now, and I'm working with a guy in mental health, and he wants me to try and this is very hard to explain. He wants me to go back to when I was a child and to draw as if nobody was going to criticize my work. He wanted me to draw and fall in a kind of mindful way. So forget everything that I knew and everything in the past and everything that I was thinking about the future. Think about the now. So it kind of ties in quite nicely with mindfulness. So you're kind of drawing as if you've never drawn before, but you're drawing in a way that's as I mentioned about the Irish people before, you're drawing from your heart rather than from your mind and what you've learned. So that's very interesting. it's like on the internet, you see there sometimes you dance as if nobody's watching.
Yeah.
And although we're open to criticism, especially in mental health, and we're open to all kinds of nasty things where people don't understand, people are exposed to stigma. So I find, especially with Grow and people who join Grow and people who are involved with Grow, the stigma is zero, because we're all singing from the same song sheet. And I think as far as gifts are concerned, you don't have to be gifted to benefit from Grow. The way I would look at gifted would be, or acknowledging your strengths, is to just do what you want to do.
Say with music, how does that help your mental health, do you think? Like, what does that do for your mind?
Well, music is very similar to art. Art is, as you know, is very therapeutic, especially if there's no pressure on you to draw something that's going to be fantastic. And we're not looking for the next Picasso, but with music, once you've picked up the basics and picked up and playing what you feel, you can lose yourself in it. You can lose yourself in drawing, but also with music, you can lose yourself in music as well. Especially once your fingers start to flow and your hands start to flow, you're almost in like a trance. It's like something takes over, and when you watch musicians when they're playing, they're very expressive in their facial features, and I can really understand that, because they are taken off to they're lost in the music. They're actually lost. They're involved and they're absorbed in what they're playing, and that's the difference between a musician and a good musician, is that they feel. If you look at a singer, perhaps they sing from their heart, and they sing. You can tell they're putting every effort they've got into that song. It makes a huge difference, and that's what I think. That's what I think with from the mental health point of view. It just gives you a break. It gives you like a break, and it takes you away from whatever it is that's bothering you or disturbing you. Another thing that where you acknowledge your gifts and your strengths is that I've gone back to walking again. I do a lot of walking. I walk about 10 kilometers a day. And walking, I can highly recommend this to anybody that's suffering, because if you go out and have a walk, get some fresh air in your lungs, especially if you walk in nature, and all the smells and all the sights that you see, it's just beautiful. And you come back and you just think to yourself, God, I'm so glad I went for that walk, because I was doubting it before I was going to go, and then I go now, and it's just so refreshing. And your mind is really a lot clearer once you come back.
Yeah. You never come back feeling worse than when you left.
That's true. I mean, sometimes you think, oh no, I can't, I want to stay in bed, and you have to kind of get into this way of thinking that it's going to do me good. Also with Grow as well, it's all about routine as well. I mean, like Grow, we have our Grow meetings online at 2:00, so you're kind of ready for it, and it's part of your routine. And routine for me is important. I would never go out walking if it wasn't for routine. I just think, right, 2:00's coming, it's time to walk, time to go out, or I'll go out in the morning. And I'm not set in my ways, not by any means. I've never ever been set in my ways, but at the moment I'm just finding kind of an inner peace. Something has changed in me, and I'm feeling a lot more peaceful in myself.
That's amazing. That's what everyone's looking for, Andy.
Yeah, it will come. Believe me, it will come. It'll come if you want it.
Do you remember when you first started feeling better?
No, because we can take dips in our well-being, and there's been a few times I've just slipped up and I haven't felt great, and just thought, oh no, why? What's going? I'm getting older now, and I should be kind of slowing down now. But I think no. And then other times when your mood is lifted, you just get yourself back on track again. Did that answer your question? I think.
Yeah, it goes up and down. It's never a straight upward trajectory. It's always kind of this kind of, you drop sometimes. I think
Yeah,
that's it's not it can't be good all the time.
it's true. Another thing with this number 4 is that I went to marriage guidance with my first marriage, and when I was in marriage guidance, I found, and I was told, that I used to talk over the top of my wife when she was trying to talk to me, and we agreed with the counsellor that we would ask for 5 minutes, and we'd say to each other, 5 minutes, please. And in that 5 minutes, your partner is not able to interrupt or talk. And I took this a step further. I actually learned to listen more, and in that same breath, I learned to actively listen. And what I mean by actively listening is to be able to feed back to the person who's talking to you exactly what they've said in a slightly condensed form. But it gives that person who you're talking to faith that you're actually listening and you're genuinely interested in what they're saying. And to have to relay back to somebody what they've said to you is pretty. You have to be pretty. You have to concentrate quite a lot to take everything in, and to be able to compress it into say a 2-minute summary of what they've said. And so I look at that as a strength, being able to listen to somebody, because not everybody will listen to others. They want to tell their own story, and they want to talk about themselves, and they want to. So that's definitely.
So you've learned a skill. That's a very valuable skill. And you use it all the time. How important would you say the 12 steps are in the program, the Grow program?
Well, yeah, they're important, obviously, because they've been chosen and they've been used for years, and I think that they're like you can kind of fit them to how you're feeling at that time, which is what we do, but they all mean different things at different times. That's how I'd sum them up, and I wouldn't change them. They can stay exactly as they are, because they do. You can pick one out when you to fit the way you're feeling at the time, and that makes things a lot easier. And sometimes it makes it a lot easier than explaining as well.
If you had to sum up Grow or the Grow program in one word, what would the word be?
Enlightening.
Explain.
Do you want me to explain it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Enlightening, which means that it's opening doors and avenues in your mind that you probably weren't even aware of. So it's enlightenment. It's opening. It's maybe enlightening in the word itself, shining some light into your life, and to know that you're not alone, and to know that there are others who suffer and who get well around you, and they all have something to offer. Everybody, no matter who they are, they can be a managing director, they can be a cleaner, but they'll all have something to offer. And everybody's opinions and ideas are valued. And I always say to people, if I give you some advice and you only take 5% of it, that's good enough for me.
When you remember where you were when you were 30 compared to where you are now, can you just explain how far you've come from there?
Well, there's a lot that's gone on, and I'd be more thoughtful now. I'm more thoughtful of others, and I care more about myself than I did, and I don't take as many risks as I would have done and I'm more in line with my emotions now. Although I do struggle with my emotions and trying to control them, I am getting better at controlling my emotions, and I feel happier than I did, a lot happier.
That's great. Yay!
Yay!